This is The Whole Truth, brought to you by the Greenville County Democratic Party. From local city councils and school boards to the South Carolina legislature and the nation, we provide a clear-eyed view of the whole truth surrounding the decisions, the policies, and the politics that have a direct impact on your family, your neighbors, and you. Here are our hosts, the chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party, Stacey Mars, and the third vice chair, Charles Morris.
Hey guys, this is Stacey Mars. I am the chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party, and welcome to the Whole Truth podcast.
Hey everyone, I'm Charles Morris, the third vice chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party.
And I am Steve Ramirez, the first vice chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party. In this podcast, we are going to bring to you the second of two interviews with council members of the Greenville City Council. The first interview you heard in the Launch podcast was with Councilwoman Dorothy Dow. This podcast is Stacey Mars and Charles Morris interviewing Councilman Ken Gibson. Enjoy.
And with us now, we have the honor of hosting Councilman Ken Gibson from District 3. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, when did you first run and why did you run?
I first ran in 2019. And I guess there are really sort of two stories behind it.
So it was you and Dorothy on the ballot at the same time?
Okay. First time. Yeah, we were both on the ballot at the same time. I ran for the reason why I ran is because I thought that I'd be able to do some things to sort of help my district and particularly communities within the city that I felt had been sort of neglected, to help people who, don't really have a voice, to help people who, are having a harder go of it than some of our other citizens within the city.
Right.
It came about that I ran that Jill Littlejohn, the councilman before me, she got a great job offer and at the very last minute could not run. So I ended up moving into that spot and running that way.
And here you are. And of course, you're the progeny of two legendary Greenvillians. Talk about your parents for a minute.
Oh, wow. Just we could, I think I'd take up the entire podcast talking about my parents. But, my parents believed and instilled this in me and really all my brothers and sisters too, that, you have a responsibility to try to help people and particularly to right wrongs, to create justice whenever you can, to, look out for those who really just can't help themselves. And
to be a public servant.
Exactly. And they dedicated their lives to that. My father primarily through civil rights and NAACP. My mother initially through civil rights and actually all the way, she continued in civil rights, but also as a county councilman for over 20 years. And they set an example for me in two different ways. My father was much more, I'm trying to think the way to say this without sounding negative. He was very much big picture. He was very much strategic thinker. He was, I want to try to do things that make the biggest impact that they can. My mother, on the other hand, she was person to person, story to story, and anybody who walked through her door who needed help, she would dedicate whatever time it was necessary in order to help them with their problem, make their lives better, in that way. So I sort of, through them, I saw both sides of public service, the macro level through my father and the micro level through my mom.
Sounds like they complemented each other.
Absolutely, they did. Absolutely, they did.
So in your time on council, can you tell us a little bit about what you have done? I know I got to see you in action when it came to Woven. and just tell us about some of the ordinances or some things that you have been for and some that you have been against, some that you've even put out on the floor.
I guess there's still the things that I'm most proud of. So my district is really the heart of the city. It extends from the Central Business District out to Haywood Mall. It includes a number of traditionally minority, lower income neighborhoods. including Greenline Spartanburg, parts of Overbrook, Nickeltown, Haney Serene, those kinds of areas.
Those long-standing kind of inner city neighborhoods.
Yes, absolutely. Those neighborhoods, though, in large part, have been neglected. The infrastructure in them has not been kept up in the same way they have in other parts of the city.
Yes.
So the thing that I'm most proud of is the work that I've been able to do in order to get money into those districts as far as fixing infrastructure. We did when I first got on council, I complained about sidewalks and roads and curbs, because a lot of my neighborhoods don't even have curbs, let alone sidewalks. And we ended up deciding to do a fairly significant, about $29 million neighborhood infrastructure bond. And that money went into those neighborhoods and across the city. Every district got money. But from my neighborhoods, we got sidewalks. We're getting a refurbished, remodeled Nickeltown Neighborhood Center, which is integral to my community and to that community. We're getting roads. We're getting just a number of infrastructure improvements that have been neglected and not done for decades. There's still a ton of more work to do.
That's a big win, though.
It is. It's a huge win. Yeah. And then, like I say, that's some of the things that I'm most proud of. In addition to that, we're making huge gains in Greenline Spartanburg, another neighborhood that has been neglected for really decades. And if you drive through it, through all of it, there are parts of it that look like you've been transformed into the state of Mississippi, in the backwoods. But we're in the process. We did a huge master plan for that neighborhood, which is going to pump a lot of infrastructure improvements. It's also, because we own a lot of the land over there, we're going to be able to control sort of what goes in there. One of the biggest problems that we have with trying to do affordable housing is that the legislature does not allow us to do what's called inclusionary zoning, which we can't make developers do affordable housing, but we can do things that encourage and stuff like that. But when we own the land, we can kind of do whatever we want to do with it. And if we sell it to a developer, we can deed restrict it to say, if you're going to, put residential on this land, you have to make it certain percentage of affordable housing. It has to be in these AMIs. It has to reach these types of people and the like. So because we own a lot of land over there and we have a really great plan in place, we're well on our way to really making some major improvements in that area.
When do you see that happening?
Well, we finished the master plan up probably a few months ago. We're in the process now of doing some pre-planning and some other things. As far as it happening, it's sort of happening now. But as far as when I think we're really going to start seeing like major improvements over there and breaking ground on affordable housing, like real affordable housing over there, I'm thinking within this year, hopefully, or at least at the very least, have things in place where we know what we're doing and who's going to be coming in. The plan is to partner with a number of affordable housing providers, such as Habitat,
Rebuild.
Yes, a bunch of different agencies that the Housing Authority, all those different agencies, have them come in and sort of figure out a plan to what we can do. And also to partner with some private developers who are willing to commit to affordable housing as well. I mean, throughout the city, we need housing really at all AMI levels. Because If you don't have it, then what ends up happening is actually a number of things. One of the things that happens is that you have wealthier people who come in who could afford a higher AMI, but because the only thing that's available is a lower AMI, they end up scarfing those properties up. You also, if you don't put steps in place, you also can imprison people at a certain income level. For instance, if I've got housing at a 30% AMI level, but there's no housing at a 40, 50, and 60% AMI level, then there is no incentive for me to try to improve my lot and to make more money and stuff like that, because basically it puts me in a position where I can't get housing anymore.
Because if I make too much money now, I can't live here anymore.
Exactly right. So that kind of thing. So we want to do it in a way where we give people who grew up in these neighborhoods and grew up in the city of Greenville, but have not been able to afford to stay for whatever reason, or even who left and want to come back but can't find a place that's within their price range. We want to try to make it so that those individuals have first priority as far as coming back. And then we want to try to, at least I want to try to, then make sure that we have affordable housing and other housing in Greenland, Spartanburg, and really, like I say, throughout the city, right, at all different levels, so that everybody can live here. I believe that diversity of income is extremely important to the health of the city. I think you get different viewpoints based upon how much money you make and what your income and what your living situation is. I think different viewpoints make us better. And if we get to a point where we've forced all of those people out, we lose that. And then we end up becoming something that we are not and don't want to become.
Right. So I know this is my first time hearing of this. So what is the city doing to make sure people know about this? And specifically you too, right? Because hopefully you're going to be up for re-election, right? And it's important to lay that groundwork now. So what are we doing to make people aware of these wins that we've gotten on council so far?
Well, I've got 3 years or 2 years before I come back up for re-election.
Yeah, but we need people to know now. And so that we can remind them.
Well, like I say, at this point, I'm really trying to just focus on doing the work and trying to get the wins where we can get them and make the city move it to a better place as best I can. The credit and all that stuff for it, there'll come a time for that. If I'm looking at a contested election or something like that. But at this point, like I say, it's really just about the work and trying to make sure that we move Greenville in the right place.
So in that vein, what's the biggest challenge facing the city in your opinion?
Ooh, wow. Because I think there are two.
I just wanted to be known that I stumped Ken with my question.
Well, I mean, he said there are two, so just tell us the two. You don't have to pick.
What are
I promise.
the two biggest challenges facing Greenville?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest one will continue to be affordable housing.
Right.
We are growing in a way that's really really sort of tremendous and really great. Okay. But at the same token, as we're growing in that way, if we aren't careful and we aren't making the type of investments that allow everyone to share in that, then we end up in a situation where we end up with exactly the type of community of one voice or one type of person.
Because you've pushed everybody out.
Exactly right. And it's not even so much just pushing, it's just not being thoughtful and mindful enough at the outset to put the things in place in order to mitigate those collateral consequences.
Right.
Because every good thing that you do, and this is policy, just policy 101, every good thing that you do, there's some sort of collateral consequence. And if you don't sort of look forward and plan for that, you end up in a situation where you're behind the eight ball on it. And a prime example of that, quite frankly, is some other areas in the city that have been developed and gentrified. There were areas of the city which quite frankly, which were just absolutely blighted, and we had, citizens who were living in conditions which nobody really should be living in.
Right.
Okay. So in making efforts to improve those conditions, it also created an environment where gentrification could accelerate, right? And though as we did that, we thought about, affordable housing, we didn't do it in a way where we kept up with the need for it. Okay. So what I'm trying to make sure happens, particularly in Greenland and Spartanburg, is as we put the infrastructure improvements into the area and it makes it more desirable, that along the way we are doing the things that are necessary in order to make sure that enough affordable housing is in that community so that people aren't getting pushed out. I mean, the goal is that there should be nobody who lives there now who can't live there 15, 20 years from now because of the improvements that we make to that area. That's goal number one. Second goal is to try to get as many people who have been forced out or who don't have a place to stay or who have grown up in the city to be able to come back. But like I say, goal number one has got to be, making sure that we don't have, people who lose out. The second biggest thing that the the city is dealing with now. And I think it's not really something that's unique to us. I think the issue is the changing political environment throughout the nation. And being able to continue to do the types of things that we need to do to progress as a city in that environment. And it's and it's been a sea change and not just, in the past and not over an extended period of time. I mean, in the past, say 7 or 8 months.
Where do you see it showing up the most?
Well, the biggest thing the biggest challenge we have right now is our diversity efforts. We were well on our path to really being able to do and to initiate and implement some really, really good programs on diversity. I mean, we are a city where as great as everything that is happening is, there are significant portions of our community that are not participating and sharing in that growth, for instance. And specifically when I say that, I'm talking about Blacks in the city of Greenville. If you look at the income of Black Greenvillians as opposed to the income of other minority groups, it is substantially lower.
It's a stark difference. Yes.
I mean, it's like the last time that I saw a comparison year to year, this was probably 2 or 3 years ago, but it was like for a household, a non, minority household, the AMI or income was like 50,000+. For a Black household, it was 17. So, I mean, we're not talking like, 50 and 40. We're talking about significant differences between
we're talking about the poverty line.
Yes, absolutely right. So, and we put together a strategic economic plan, which is designed to, give us a way to look at the economy of Greenville and how we develop the economy of Greenville in a very intentional manner. And a big part of that, or a significant part of that, was diversity efforts. But now we're in an environment, a political environment where I'm not sure we're going to be able to continue with those programs without losing substantial federal funds that go to those same communities. So, we don't get a ton, let me back up, federal dollars that we get. Our transit authority gets a significant amount of federal dollars. In fact, their biggest donor is federal dollars.
Right.
And then we have a number of community development programs which provide to lower income, households and individuals various services and stuff like that. And those are primarily run by federal dollars. I mean, that's really like the bulk of what we get it from. I mean, there's some grants and stuff like that we get for the police and everything like that. But those are the main pots that quite frankly impact my constituents the most, right. My citizens the most.
Right.
We're in a situation now where we've got to figure out how we thread the needle between trying to continue those programs and continue, our diversity efforts, but still maintain those dollars. And it may not be such that we're able to do it with the administration that we have in place right now.
So you're constantly trying to thread the needle on this issue.
Yes.
You've got this kind of thread of anti-woke, anti-DEO atmosphere hanging around at all times.
Yes. And it sort of blunts one of the things, that I'd hope that we're really going to be able to do is sort of give some more parity, towards various groups within the city. So now we just got to figure out a different way. We got to figure out a different way. The way that I thought we were going to be able to do it, we may not be able to do it that way, and we got to figure out a different way.
So you guys have been on a break
Yes.
in July, but before you went on break, there was an ordinance that came up in council that I think had a lot of, I'll say, backlash maybe to it, or didn't have the
Polarizing,
support.
maybe?
Didn't have the support.
Yeah, I think
some
that's
people
fair.
thought it would have.
I think that's fair.
So the anti-camping ordinance. Can you tell us a little bit about it, your position on it, and where you think it's headed?
Well, my position. So to clarify, so we had a proposal ordinance that came up in the meeting. I think it was I'm not sure if it was June or May. It's one of those meetings, but that ordinance came up, and that ordinance was postponed. It's my understanding there's something coming back on August 11th, but I don't know what that is yet. So I haven't seen, what's being proposed at this point. I mean, this was sort of a unique thing in the way that we sort of do business. Normally, what happens with us is, as far as the way the city council does business is, if there's an issue or something that needs to go on the agenda, we may identify it at council, but it's generally a staff-driven effort. I mean, staff they'll draft something, it'll go through, whatever commissions or whatever it needs to go through. And then after it goes through those things, it'll get to us. This was a council member driven initiative. So, while staff helped with it as far as doing specific things asked upon them by the specific council members that were pushing this, it wasn't that organic or same process that we normally have as far as when we address issues. So with that said, what's going to come back on August 11th is also going to again be council member driven.
So y'all aren't participating in this together like you might normally in like a work session or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, we're not. We have not done a work session on this. Might be a good idea to do a work session on this, but we have not done a work session on this.
So you won't know what's in it until they post it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair, but are we able to talk about what came up on June 9th as it was
absolutely.
then?
Yeah.
So essentially, it was a ban on public camping, right?
Yes.
Sleeping on public property, storing your belongings on public property. Is that fair?
I think that's how it was proposed. I mean, and I've said this before. I don't think this is about public camping. I don't think it's about encampments. I think it's about, we have citizens in our community that don't want to see homeless people. And I get it. I mean, on a number of reasons. I mean, there's some people who, we have a lot of homeless people or we have some homeless people, because we don't really have a big homeless problem. But we have some homeless people who suffer from mental illness, and those people, scare people. We have other homeless people. We have other people who believe that all poor people commit crime. So those scare people. And then we have some people who just don't want to be confronted every day with the extreme, disparity that exists within our community. But with that said, no matter what your feelings on it, and no matter why you feel that way, I'm not going to put homeless people in jail simply because people don't like looking at them. I mean, if this was actually an anti-encampment statute, okay, and we're talking about encampments, all right, what an encampment looks like is it's generally a community of homeless people who have pitch tents or lean-tos or anything like that, and they've sort of lived in it, and they get an area, and they're in that area for days, weeks, months.
Almost like a shanty town.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm. And with that said, there are reasons why. Well, I'm not saying that we need an anti-encampment statute, but there are reasons why we need to be able to sort of regulate sort of what goes on in those communities, just like we do at every other community that we have in Greenville. A lot of times in those communities, or you will see crime, but not crime against other citizens, crime between the homeless people themselves. You have, if you're not careful, you can have situations where there is, sanitation or health issues or stuff like that. But like I say, we don't have a whole lot of those. And quite frankly, you really sort of have to, you have to go looking for them to be able to find them.
Right.
All right. So that's not a big problem in the city of Greenville. And the statute really was, the proposed ordinance wasn't really drafted in a way that was limited to that. I mean, it was, right. I mean, basically, you know, so for instance, last year, I went to Falls Park, laid out a blanket, ate some lunch, watched Shakespeare in the Park, took a nap, right? I'd be a criminal under that statute, you know? So anybody, if you, under that proposed ordinance, if you were to go to one of our parks, lay out a blanket, hang out for 2 hours or more, you could be arrested and put in jail. And that's not an encampment issue. That doesn't address the type of problems that you would see in an encampment or anything like that. It's not limited to that in any way whatsoever. Basically, the only thing an ordinance like that does is it says, I don't want to look at you. You've been down here for too long. Either you're going to move away so I don't have to see you, or we're going to put you in jail.
So this ordinance is giving cover to pick on homeless people under the guise of a problem that doesn't really exist.
I think if it's passed, it will. Okay. And I think, I think what will happen if this thing passes is that our police will be bombarded with citizens who all of a sudden call them on every homeless person that they see, and they say, hey, there's this homeless person outside my house, or there's this homeless person over here.
They've been camping for 4 hours, or whatever.
And you need to come arrest them. And our police, rather than dealing with, you know, real crimes, real issues and stuff like that, they're going to be dealing with this. And so that's what I think. I mean, that's what I think was going to happen with the statute. And quite frankly, it's, you know, in my mind, you know, and people differ on this, but I just think that is inhumane. And particularly so because, you know, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, so I see what the consequences are of someone moving into the system. And there are a bunch of collateral things that happen to you once you get into that system that people don't either know about or consider, all these things that will be happening to these people. I mean, but that was just part of it. I mean, there were a number of things that were wrong with that ordinance.
Well, can we kind of go back to that a little bit, and where you talk about some of the things that happen once people enter the system? Mm-hmm. Because I know I've had this conversation with a few people when asking the question, you're like, oh, it's meant to be compassionate. And I'm like, how? Because once a person enters the system, it's hard
yes.
to be able to do anything after that.
Yes.
You know, and I know in the ordinance it says they can get expunged, but that's expensive too. So, I mean, it yes. seems like there's just it's very contradictory in the way it's written. But can you talk about some of the things that that do happen once a person enters the system that may stop them from being able to get a home?
Oh, I think they say that's the point. And it's not really a long conversation. I mean, the biggest one is that there are a lot of landlords that will not rent to anyone with a criminal record, no matter how minor. So, you know, you end up with a criminal record for violations of the Greenville City anti-encampment statute. You could be in a situation where you are now eliminated from consideration by a substantial number of landlords, which is absolutely counterproductive. I mean, we're talking about, we want to get, you know, we're being told, hey, we're doing this because we want to get homeless people off the street, but you're labeling them in a way which makes it impossible for them to get off the street. But you know, with that said, I mean, let's talk through, you know, what would happen to a homeless person who gets arrested on the statute and on this ordinance. I keep saying statute. And this, the caveat is this. First off, there will probably be, and particularly around January, February, a number of homeless people who would probably welcome being arrested on the statute, because it would give them a place to live for 20, 30, however many days they're going to be in the Greenville County Detention Center on the statute. But with that said, what will happen to them is this. They will first be arrested. They will be taken before a judge. They may get a bond the first time out, or the judge may even release them on his own recognizance. Okay. Because they're homeless, they will in all likelihood miss their court appointment. And once that happens, then the judge will issue a bench warrant for them to be arrested. They will then be arrested on that bench warrant at some point. when the police find them. The police will at that point also search through all their belongings. And if there's any other thing that, say for instance, I'm an individual and I have a mental health issue and I've been prescribed a medication, but for whatever reason, I've lost my bottle. Okay. I would in all likelihood then be arrested on a new charge of possession of a prescription medication without possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. So that's a new charge that you're looking at, which is possibly also a general sessions charge, which means you're looking at much longer in jail than just the 20-30 days that we're talking about as far as that's concerned. The police will take all of your property. Hopefully they will confiscate it and bring it with you. If they don't, if they throw it away, which the ordinance also allowed to happen, then that homeless person will lose all their documentation that they will need in order to get any services and stuff like that. They will lose their social security card. They will lose their birth certificate. They will lose their picture ID, all those different things. So once they finish whatever time that they've done in jail, they then got to come back out and try to figure out a way to get all those documents again. And it takes months to be able to get a birth certificate, and then to be able to get a social security card, and then be able to get, a picture ID and all those different things that you need before you can get the services that people are saying, hey, we're trying to get these people in jail so that we can get them in these services in the first place. If you have a mental illness and you get arrested on this and you don't have the prescription from the doctor, the detention center will in all likelihood not prescribe you that same medication, and they will prescribe you something else, which will almost undoubtedly mess you up for a time until they get that, whatever right to your prescription medication and combination of cocktail that you take right. When you come out, you will then have no more medication, and you will have to figure out a way to get to the Department of Mental Health and get medication again. And that will take some time in and of itself as well. I mean, there's just a whole lot of things that will happen on this, which just don't justify the societal ill that it claims that is fixing.
Right.
So like, it's just problematic on so many levels. Now, I don't know what's coming on August 11th. Maybe, I'll see it they'll probably give it to me Thursday, because we get a preview of what's on the dot, going to be whatever. So I'll probably see it that Thursday. Just like I saw the last one on the Thursday before the vote. But I don't know what's going to be in it. And I don't know, how they're going to fix those problems. I don't know how they're going to deal with all of those issues, that are in there. And there are a lot of them. This is not a simple issue. It's not like, it's as if some people believe that there are homeless people out there and they just want to be homeless. And if we show them some tough love, that all of a sudden, they'll decide not to be homeless anymore. But it's not that kind of an issue. I mean, it's just not. I mean, there is no, it's not like when you go to career day, you're in school and they have career day. They have, doctor, surgeon, and in between them, they have homeless person. And people say, oh yeah, I want to be the homeless person. So, I mean, you have some people who are in this situation where they suffered a fairly recent, trauma. And they can sort of be put back sort of quickly. But you have other people who have long, complicated issues that require, first off, a level of trust between that person and the service provider in order for them to be able to begin to address those issues. And then you have a long, treatment and stuff ahead of them in order to get them to a point where they can, in search of a better term, rejoin society in the way that, that we want everybody to be able to be in society. And then, of course, there's some people who've decided, hey, I want to be homeless. And quite frankly, we live in a free society. So, I mean, it's not as if, we should, in my mind, we should just be, imposing the lifestyle upon someone that we think they should be living.
Let me piggyback on that. So Ken mentioned he's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. This ordinance is clearly written in a way it wants to differentiate between status and conduct, right? So, for example, you can't arrest somebody for being an alcoholic, but you can arrest them for public drunkenness.
Yes.
So, however, the status of being homeless is clearly inseparable from the status of sleeping on the street if you have nowhere else to go.
Yes.
So how can you actually claim this ordinance is not criminalizing homelessness? Am I reading that correctly? Would you say that's fair?
I think, and being the lawyer that I am, I look specific at the language. So the language of it itself, is the language of itself, and it deals with conduct. The problem that you have, though, is you have the language on paper and you have how the ordinance will be enforced. And there is no question in my mind that it will not be, if it looks anything like it looked the first time around, there is no question in my mind that it would be enforced equally amongst all people. Okay. So, when I told you about my situation before, where I went down to the park, Falls Park, and got a blanket and laid down and took a nap and stuff like that. The idea that I would be arrested is pretty distant, pretty remote.
Right.
But if I looked as if I was homeless and I did the exact same thing, there's no doubt in my mind that I would be arrested. And that's where you create the problem, and quite frankly, and that's where you create the unconstitutionality of it. Because once you start having statutes where you say, hey, this is what the statute is, but we're only going to enforce this statute against a certain group of people, that's problematic.
There's too much discretion.
Exactly. It is way too much discretion.
You're giving too much power to, bias.
Yes.
Simply how somebody looks. So I do have one more legal question for you. This comes down to the people having property out, and it could be seized, right? So last month, the city of San Francisco had to pay out almost $3 million for unlawfully taking people's belongings.
Yes.
There is a part of this ordinance that allows the police to, at their discretion, again, just take people's stuff. They do not have to store it. They can simply throw it away. It seems as if the city is opening itself up to similar litigation.
If we pass this ordinance, we certainly would.
And that's not good for the city.
No. It's not. But even beyond that, it's not good for the people whose property that we're taking. Because like I say, in that property includes all of their IDs.
Of course.
All of their information, all the thing that connects them to society, all of their belongings, their entire lives are in those bags, those shopping carts, whatever it is that we're talking about just taking and throwing away in some dumpster. And
which this ordinance would allow the police to do at their discretion.
If it looks if it looks anything on August 11th like it looked before, yes, it would absolutely allow that. And that to me is just wrong. I mean, we shouldn't, it's not, and not only wrong in the sense of immoral, but wrong in the sense of it's counterproductive to what we claim that we're trying to do. I mean, if we're trying to help homeless people, be housed, then the last thing we want to do is to take away all their belongings, and particularly their papers, their identification, and all those different things, because they can't do anything without those IDs and papers and all those different things. I mean, it's just, like I say, it's just shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, we're only making a bad situation worse.
Exactly
at that point. We're not helping anybody by taking the only things they have on them.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
What's a better solution?
Better solution is for us, for Greenville, to serve our homeless community better, to create more affordable housing so that we can eliminate these problems as much as we can. We don't have, like I say, we don't have that great of a homeless problem. I mean, I was out in Oakland, California, Oakland, San Francisco last week. Okay. And, the person I was with drove me around a lot, and I saw a lot of the encampments and stuff like that. And I walked around the street and I saw, interacted with a number of, people who are homeless and stuff like that. And our situation is nothing like their situation. So I don't want to sit around and say, okay, what will work for us will, is something that they need to do, or what works for them is what we need to be doing. For us,
because we don't need a big city solution here.
No,
we don't have a big city problem.
Exactly right. So for us, we need to just do a better job of serving our homeless community. We have, as far as the city is concerned, we put significant resources behind the Greenville Together. It's the initiative that's being run by the United Way, Megan Barp. And what I'm hoping will come out of that is a coordination of a couple of things, really. First, a coordination of the agencies that we already have in place that are providing homeless services. Greenville, and this is actually, we do this with a lot of different issues. We are the type of community where we have a number of people who see a problem and they say, hey, I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna try to fix that. I'm gonna do something about that. And in that regard, with homeless services, we have 4 major entities, private entities, that have stepped forward and said, hey, we're going to do something about this problem and we're going to help this problem. But they also do it in their own different way. Okay. And some of what they do overlaps. And then also a lot of what they do, creates cracks and holes that sort of need to be filled. So what I'm hoping comes out of Greenville Together is this. I'm hoping that we're able to, one, get some real coordination between all those agencies, all those private entities, so that they can, sort of reduce some of the overlap, sort of fill in some of the cracks and figure out, how they can best work together while maintaining who they are. Because, a number of them are religious based and they should, we're not trying to tell people you have to do things a certain way or you have to take religion out of all these different things. Right. So one, that part of it. And the other part of it is identify for us as a city where those cracks are that they're not going to be able to fill so that we can try to figure out a way to fill them ourselves. Okay. Since I've been on council, we have, I don't want to say a hands-off approach, but we have not nearly been as involved in trying to solve this problem as we have with some other problems. But what I'm hoping comes out of this is a desire and a willingness for us to step into it and try to fix it, in the same way we have tried to fix some other problems. There is a lot that we as the city can do in this regard. And so, things that we're going to end up needing, but that I think we're going to end up needing. We're going to, as a city, we're going to need to be able to provide more restrooms, public restrooms that are available for homeless people.
If you ever go downtown, anybody knows how hard it can be to find a bathroom.
Absolutely. There's certain areas where we're going to have to put more trash cans for people to have trash cans that are available to them. In addition to that, we're going to have to figure out a way to provide day shelters. And they're going to need to be day shelters that are available to anyone, what are called no barrier shelters. All right. For instance, so you and I, we get sick, we get the flu, we stay home, stay in our bed. Right. All right. If you're homeless and you get the flu, there is no bed for you to stay in. And there's one shelter there's Miracle Hill, and they provide basically like a full living experience, where you stay for an extended period of time. But some of our shelters are, for the night. It's a bed for the night, maybe we'll see, the next night, that kind of thing. If I get the flu and I'm homeless, what else am I going to do other than sleep downtown? And then now we're going to say, okay, we're going to put you in jail for doing that. That's just crazy. But, so we're going to have to be able to provide some sort of services and figure out a way to fill that need. We need to, we need to figure out a way to provide outreach on a 24/7, 7-day-a-week basis. We're going to need to be able to do a better job of coordinating with mental health, coordinating with drug addiction services and stuff like that to try to help people in those regards. We're going to have to be able to provide more affordable housing at a level for people who have basically no incomes whatsoever. Like I say, there are a lot of holes that are going to end up that we're going to need to fill. But the good thing is we don't have a ton of people that we have to fill those needs for. It's not like we're looking like we're San Francisco and we've got 10,000 homeless people. We've got somewhere between 350 to 400 within the city of Greenville.
Right.
And we have almost 300 beds, for night services now. So it's not, like I say, it's not a huge chasm that we need to fill, We just got to figure out how we're going to fill it.
So we don't need a far-reaching ordinance to criminalize homelessness. We need a humanitarian approach.
Yes, we need a humanitarian approach.
So Councilor Dow talked about how Greenville Together said that within the first year, they want to rehome or relocate 80 people. Mm-hmm. But so far this year, they've only done about 7. Mm-hmm. So we get to the end of the year and they haven't reached that goal. Do you think the council will take the approach of, okay, we'll give you time, or they'll say, we don't know, this isn't working?
So I think that is a laudable goal. Okay. But I don't think that's really the goal that we should be focused on as far as providing homeless services. We're going to get people housed along the way once we start figuring out a way to provide more shelter. Okay. The main thing that I think we need to be focused on now, though, is how do we serve the people that are homeless? How do we give them the things that they need so that they can put themselves in a position where they can, move in a different way themselves. And I don't want to get caught in the labels, but there's a housing first, strategy where you basically just say, okay, you're homeless, we're going to put you in housing, and we'll figure out the services and all those different things later. Then there's, the services first, and we're going to give you services, and we're not going to provide any housing for you, anything. I mean, I think Greenville needs a hybrid approach. I think there's some people who are in a position where they can be moved into housing and thrive in that community and thrive in that situation and environment right away. I think there's some people who are going to need, some services before they're going to be able to move into that situation and thrive. So I'm not one of these ones that's like, oh my God, if they don't reach this, we're going to say, well, we're going to go in a different direction, because this is the thing. Unless we as the city are going to take over all of homeless service provision, unless we are going to say we're going to be the entity which provides all of these different things without, thinking of and without trying to get the other homeless service providers involved in it, unless we're willing to make that type of commitment, what other choice do we really have other than to continue and try to work this problem in the way that we're working it? I mean, it just, like I say, I just don't think that's I don't think that's the end all goal as to where we're trying to go. And I feel like I'm sort of rambling on this, but
you're not. You're making very valid points. Thank you.
but like I say, I just and to say, okay, well, we're going to take the money out of Greenville Together, or we're going to take the money from our service providers, and we're not going to provide service anymore, and now we're going to lock you up. I don't think that gets us where we're going to try to go in it either, So unless, it cost us, I'm trying to think, what's the number? It's like $65 a day to put somebody in jail.
$65 you're still spending the money. You're just shifting.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I mean, if we put somebody in jail, if let's say they get sentenced to 30 days, they'll do 22 days with good time in jail. That's about, what was that? Almost $1,500 in my math, and just rounding stuff up. I mean, that's $1,500 to put somebody in jail for 30 days, whereas we could have taken that $1,500 and put that towards an outreach person to go out and help a number of people, provide services in that way. We could have taken that money and moved it in and tried to create some type of housing unit for that person long term to move into. This is just wrong on so many levels. And when I say wrong on so many levels, I mean, it's not just in my mind immoral. It's not just in my mind inhumane and cruel and compassionless. It is just bad policy. It's just really, really, really bad policy. And this all sort of started this whole anti-encampment, movement started with, God, I can't remember this dude's name, but as seemingly as all bad things happen in America these days, it started with a billionaire. who
Yes.
Don't get him started. Please don't get him
Thank
started.
you.
Okay.
who decided that he was going to push these anti-encampment statues. God, I can't think of this dude's name. I hate this. Maybe it'll come to me before we finish. But he created, he created a nonprofit, and the nonprofit goes about and they push these to state legislatures, these anti-encampment statutes where, we're going to solve homelessness by putting people in jail. And every homeless service provider who's actually in this space will tell you it is absolutely the wrong way to go. I mean, it's just not good policy, and it does not move, this issue in a positive way towards actually solving it. I mean, you're basically just putting people in jail. So I just, like I say, I don't know where we go in a year if they haven't met that goal, but my position will be that we need to just recalibrate and keep figuring out the way we go. I mean, because like I say, we have a number of service providers in the city that provide services in this space, and it just makes sense in order to keep using those individuals as best we can. And to coordinate with those individuals as best we can, and then to try to figure out how we fill in the gaps and stuff like that. But this whole, I'm going to put you in jail because you're downtown for 2 hours. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Which could be a lot of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is this, so, you look and
also, let's be real. This is going to be enforced mostly downtown.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because that's just where they don't want to see homeless people.
Well. I say that, but there are also some communities where individuals have moved into who complain about homeless, which is sort of interesting considering that some of the communities that these people are now living in are communities where they're 2 or 3 blocks away from some of the largest homeless service providers in the county. I mean, you would, you
moved in, but you don't like the view when you got there.
Yeah. You would think that, you would sort of have considered that when you moved there, but it sort of is what it is. But so, yeah, I mean, I think there'll be a number of business owners who force compliance. I think that there will be people who walk the trails who will complain and force compliance. I think there will be neighborhoods where homeless people have generally sort of hidden. I think there'll be complaints there. And when I say that, the hidden part, I mean, our homeless issue really comes from three different things. So we have people who had housing but lost housing, okay, for various reasons. Okay, we have people who will come to Greenville for maybe a drug program, and they get kicked out of the drug program, and they end up, staying and becoming homeless. But a large portion of what you see is people who were already homeless, but whose communities or the areas in which they hid, the woods and all those different things where they hid, are now being developed. So now they're visible. It's like if you go into a forest and you start, building houses, and you'll see like deer and, coyotes and all these different animals and stuff, that are still around. It's because, they were living there before, and now you can see them. And that's not in any way to compare homeless people to animals or anything like that. But like I say, it's that same sort of situation. So we have a number of people who are just, you're seeing more. Okay. Greenville Together has been doing these community conversations. And in the community conversations, one of the parts they have people who were formerly homeless, and they talk about what their experiences were. And I went to one of the first ones they had, and they had an individual who had been homeless, so sort of off and on for about 10 years, and had finally sort of gotten out of it. And they asked him, as a homeless person, what'd your day look like? And it's like, I really spent most of my day hiding because people look at me being homeless as some sort of nuisance and they don't want to, be around me and stuff like that. So I would, I and most of my friends or people who I with, we would try to hide as much as possible, not be seen. And I'm just like, that just really sort of broke my heart. I mean, the idea that a member of our community, and that's what homeless people are. They are members of our community. That a member of our community would feel the need to hide from everyone else and to spend their day hiding from everyone else. I mean, we shouldn't be that type of community. That's not the type of community that Greenville is. Now, I'm not saying we're perfect because we're not.
But we should be better than that.
Yes.
We shouldn't push members of our community to the fringes and make them feel like they don't belong.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree with that more. Just to shift gears a little bit, This has been a great conversation, but a little more positive. What are you most excited about in the next year or two in Greenville?
Nickeltown Neighborhood Center.
I know a lot of people are excited about that.
That is the thing that I'm most excited about, seeing that open. Seeing the ribbon cutting on that one and getting that community back into that community center. That's the thing that I'm most excited about. And then figuring out what we do at Greenline Spartanburg and just continuing to, serve the rest of my district and community the way that I need to. But, I don't, you got to understand, these community centers are like integral to, my neighborhoods, particularly, the ones that are lower income and those types of things. I mean, they provide recreation that otherwise they wouldn't be able to afford. They provide a place for children to go that they otherwise would not have. I mean, for some of our more well off, citizens, they can get a membership to Sports Club or the Croc Center or any of these other places and go and recreate there. A lot of members of my community can't, but that's the place where they meet. That's the place where they socialize. That's the place where they go to recreate. All the things that make life worth living, that's where they do those things. So the fact that we're going to be able to get that center in a much better condition than it was before, and open and able to provide those services to the people in that community, that's just the most exciting thing in the world to me.
That is very exciting. So thank you for joining us, Councilman Gibson. The meeting on the ordinance is going to be August 11th.
Yes, that's my understanding. It'll be at 5:30. 5:30. So if you are of the mindset that this is not something that you think Greenville should do, then I ask that you please show up at the meeting. If you want to, you can speak for up to 3 minutes, but you will need to contact Camilla Pittman at the city, our city clerks. If you look, I'm trying to think, I don't know her email address off.
They can go to the website
and find it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, make sure you sign up if you want to talk. The more people that talk, the better. I am certain that there is going to be an effort to say that those who are against this statute are in the minority, and this is just some, very vocal minority who are speaking out against it. But I think that is absolutely the opposite. I think the majority of citizens of Greenville citizens, are against this.
All right. Thanks so much, Councilman. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Councilman Gibson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening today, and thank you to our special guest, council members Dorothy Dow and Ken Gibson, for joining us. Y'all heard what he said at the end. This ordinance, as far as anti-encampment, may be coming up at the August 11th City Council meeting. That will be at 5:30 City Hall on Main Street in downtown Greenville. Show up, make your voice heard. That's how we make a difference. Make sure you follow us on social media at Facebook, Greenville County Democratic Party, and on Instagram it is GVLDem. That is the best place to see what is happening in the community, what are the next events, what is the party doing. So give us a follow on both.
And this is Steve Ramirez. Until the next time, thank you so much for joining in with us to understand more about the whole truth with the Greenville County Democratic Party. Thanks.